Hello, Susan Elias here. Today I'm going to talk about the mannequin, the dress form, the all-important dress form for fashion design. I wanted to show you all the different ones and talk to you a little bit about the process and why it's so important. Okay, we have three mannequins right here, dress forms, mannequin, whichever you want to call it. And this is my favorite. This is mine for a very long time. I've had this since college, actually. I remember dragging it down the street in Manhattan to my dorm at FIT. So this is, was made in New York, as well as modern, superior, and wolf mannequins. And first I wanted to show you that it is a very small mannequin. It has somewhat of a pointy bust line. It really doesn't have a butt. It's just sort of smooth here. It does not collapse. It has a pedal on the bottom here. I'm hoping you can see it, where I can push down on the pedal and move the mannequin up or down, whatever I need it for. And it's my basic mannequin that I like to demonstrate draping with because it does have more of a pointy breast. It has a sharp apex, so it makes things easier to understand and to show you the process of the dart manipulation. Because it doesn't have a very large breast or a very predominant butt area, this is basically used for tops and dress. They call this the dress form, the basic dress form. Here next to it is a more of a modern or newer mannequin, and it has what this one doesn't have, which is collapsible shoulders. And I'm going to show you how you push it in like that. And the reason why you need those collapsible shoulders is because if you're working on a woven garment or a very fitted garment like a corset or something like that, after you begin sewing the garment, it becomes smaller and the ease is not really there for the allowance to go over the shoulder like a human body would be able to kind of scrunch. So this mannequin has the collapsible shoulders, and once you put the garment on, you can then let the shoulders come back out, and then you have the full form that way. This one has more of an uplift breast area, more of an evening look, and it does have a little bit of a butt going on there. So it gives you more of an idea of what you need if you need something for the butt. And this also goes up and down. And then we have the third mannequin here, which is a display mannequin. Actually, I bought it when Rampage was going out of business, and it was their window display mannequins. It still has the same component. It's still made the same way. It does not have an up and down lever to go up and down, so it's a little harder to drape with it. But what I liked about it is that it's broader, and the measurements were a little bit broader. These are all the same size. These are all technically size 6 mannequins, and yet they're a little bit different. This one does not have a butt as well, but it had a broader back area, which I liked a lot. And I use it quite a bit to make sure that I have enough in the back, because this one is quite small. So what are mannequins made of, and why do you need something like the ones I have? There are a lot of mannequins out there in the industry, and they're not something that I'd say, quote unquote, is pinnable, meaning you can get a pin and actually be able to put it into the mannequin like that while you're draping. They're either foam or they're a hard material where the pin cannot go too far, so it makes it hard to drape. So I only recommend getting this kind of a dress form that is made this way. They're mostly made with a mold and in a paper mache type process, with cardboard that is soaked and then molded with a paste inside of a form, a front and a back, and then it's put together securely, and different things are made. To do the collapsible shoulders is a lot more surgery involved. This one, not so much. And after that, some I think Irish linen is put on top of the mannequin, sewn very, very tightly, and then wetted down with a sponge in order to have it even shrink further and make a nice smooth mold on the body. There are seams in here that are very important for draping. There's the center front seam. These are the princess seams. which is halfway between the center front and the side of the garment, and it goes all the way down. You have the side seams, and you have the princess seams in the back. All traditional mannequins have that element. Another thing about it is that they are a smaller size, so if you want it to be more for an American woman, or one that is more realistic to us, you have to pad it. I don't pad it with foam or any of those kits. I like to pad it with just felt. And I have the felt strips going on here, and I actually have them lined up to the princess seam, so I still have all of that indication that I need. Then I wrapped another tape to give me the right waistline, so that I have that as well. So these are the three basic mannequins, and then they have mannequins that have legs on them, some that have maybe a higher bust for evening wear and bridal and couture. But essentially these are the mannequins that are used in the industry across the board. I will tell you as well that mannequins, the three major companies that were around when I was going to school, was Wolf, of course, which was the top, Superior, and Modern. This is a modern one. I had a few Superior model forms. They still exist. They still manufacture. Wolf does as well in Jersey, New Jersey, New York. So those are accessible, and the rest of it is sort of made in China. I will tell you, it's all about the measurements. If the measurements aren't right, then it really doesn't matter how expensive or inexpensive you bought your mannequin or your dress form. So I scrutinize over the measurements. Believe it or not, that all three of these mannequins are very similar in measurements, with a little bit of a difference maybe in the center front to the waist. Measurement might be 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch off. The bust is about the same. But I will also say that mannequins and dress form companies don't traditionally change their forms, but every 50 years. So they're using the same form forever, and it's up to you to just navigate what you want in a dress form. You can also have them custom made to your own specific measurements. That's an option, very expensive option, but it can be very helpful for certain clients or for yourself. But so you have to kind of keep that in mind. And the first thing I do when I go to a company and I'm working with them is I ask them about their sizing. I ask them about what form they're using, what measurements are their true body measurements. True body measurements are different than the ease or the garment measurements, the final garment measurements. So each one of these measurements have to be the same. And I also will tell you that depending on the year that you're working, these numbers will go up or down. This is a size 6 mannequin. Like I said, all three of these are 6 mannequins. This technically, when I work on it and drape on it, I use it as a 2-4. I go down a size. That's a little bit, might have a little bit to do with the American mentality and sizing, but sizing has expanded over the years even further. About 10 years ago, the basic or the mid-size range for an American person would be a size 10, 12. Now the average size is considered a 14. So we're getting a little bit bigger, meaning that we have to make these measurements or this form a smaller size because we are expanding further and further, and we don't want to make numbers that are just off the chart. So these numbers then just go down. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a personal preference, and every company has their measurements. How do you get those measurements? That's a whole nother thing in itself. I remember when I first worked in the industry, I would literally take clothing into the dressing room and measure every bit of the clothing to get with ease what designers were using for a bust measurement, a waist measurement, and a hip measurement. This is way before everything was stretch. So it was a more of an accurate thing. And then I developed my own numbers that I thought were good for my company. And when I go into another company, I do the same thing. The first thing I ask them is, Where's your mannequin, where is your basic slopers, and what are your size measurements. So the mannequin is the number one most important element in your design studio, because those numbers represent you for your entire career. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fashion Unfolded, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.